asked NBA executives and coaches who they believed was the greatest Laker of all time, and it wasn't even close. Drumroll, please. Magic Johnson received 69% of the votes. Of the 65 respondents, 45 said Johnson was the greatest Laker ever, followed by Kobe Bryant and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who tied for second with 7 votes apiece, and Jerry West was fourth, receiving 5 votes. Wilt Chamberlain rounding out the top 5 there. So this survey saying Magic is the greatest Laker ever. Stephen A., do you concur?
Believe it or not, it's a tough one for me. It's a 6-time champion in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar who gets out of the mix because he may be the greatest big man ever, depending on who you ask. But there's a lot to be said for other attributes and intangibles that come along with being the greatest Laker. It's clearly, to me, a choice between Magic Johnson and Kobe Bryant, both with 5 world championships. And I'm down the middle in this respect, Skip. I do not believe that Magic Johnson was the talent that Kobe Bryant is as a scoring machine, the things that Kobe could do on the basketball court. Magic Johnson had a considerable size advantage at the point guard spot, was obviously a phenomenal passer and an incredibly cerebral ball player, can look over defenders and do his thing. But when he had his toughest times, it was against Dennis Johnson with the Boston Celtics. It was against Scottie Pippen when he was older, 10 years later, 11 years later, and he was going against the Chicago Bulls. So I look at it from a talent perspective, and it's Kobe. But I got to take into account the rings, the winner inside you, and the ability to galvanize the troops around you. And that is where Magic has the edge on Kobe. I have no problem with somebody saying it's a close toss-up between Magic and Kobe, but I would have to agree by giving Magic the nod, because even though I think Kobe was a superior athletic talent, I think Magic was a superior team leader. And Magic, even though he had better players, because Kobe had, Magic gets applauded for playing with Kareem, Norm Nixon before, and then Byron Scott later on, and Michael Cooper and Jamal Wilkes before James Worthy. You know, I mean, Magic played with a crew of dudes, no question. And he had better players, a collection of better players to play with than Kobe. But I also have to think about the fact, listen, and this isn't popular to say, because we know I love that's my man, Kobe Bryant. But Kobe Bryant Shaq deserves some too, but Kobe Bryant harbors some responsibility for breaking up a tandem that Shaquille O'Neal personally told me just the other day on my radio show, he and Kobe would have won 7 championships together. So when you consider the level of dominance that they could have had, when you consider the fact that they could have been together, and somehow, some way, neither of them can shove aside all their nonsense and stay together and love being a dynamic tandem for the ages, they both harbor responsibility for that. I can't let Shaq off the hook on that. I can't let Kobe off the hook on that. They both showed us some degree of responsibility for the fact that they couldn't stay together. With Magic, I've never seen any of those players that didn't want to be with Magic. Jamal Wilkes, James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Cooper, Kurt Rambis, Michael Thompson, Spencer Haywood. I mean, the list goes on and on. Everybody who played with Magic, if they didn't want to play with Magic, I never heard it. And I've been covering the NBA for 20 years. I've never heard any player sit there and complain about being on the basketball court with Magic Johnson. Periodically at times, fair or not, that was said about Kobe. That goes into whether or not you're the greatest Laker. So I give the edge to Magic.
So how can this even be close after what you just said?
Because they both have 5 rings, and because despite the level of resistance, acrimony, or whatever you want to call it, Kobe still found a way to win and be one of the greatest ever. I got to give him props for that, to win, to sit there and help assist and Shaq getting booted out the door, to struggle for a couple of years for the world to be counting against you, everybody count you out, and then all of a sudden for you to come back, turn around, and find a way to win 2 more rings without Shaq, then go to 3 straight NBA Finals. I got to give Kobe love for that. I got to do that.
I don't. This should have been a landslide for Magic Johnson. This should be a no-brainer. As you point out, Magic was the ultimate leader in any sport that I've ever been around. And Kobe was always more of a solo act. Furthermore, Magic's rings came with a much higher degree of difficulty, albeit with your supporting cast that you talked about, which is star-studded. But the difficulty that Magic faced in his career, which was much shorter than Kobe. Remember, Magic only played 12 real seasons before the HIV hit.
Yep.
And Kobe's now in his 20th season, just for the record. But when we look at what Magic with Kareem, remember, Kareem was unto himself. He was more of a solo act too, in search of a leader, somebody to galvanize, unify.
Because Kareem had bigger thoughts than basketball.
No doubt. Right. Again, love him, respect him. Just supreme.
Most unstoppable move in the history of the
you got it. Okay, now let's look at what that team led by Magic Johnson did. It beat, I'll go backwards here. It beat Dr. J's Sixers twice in the finals. It beat Larry Bird's Celtics twice in the finals. And it beat Isaiah's Pistons in the finals. It's pretty great. It lost to Dr. J's Sixers. It lost to Larry Bird. It lost to Isaiah when everybody pulled their hamstring that year. Remember, they were heavily favored.
Especially Magic.
And Byron. And then it lost to the young Michael Jordan's upcoming breakthrough Chicago Bulls. No shame there. Then we look at what Shaq and Kobe did together. I got to tell you, it's no all-time great achievement to beat the Pacers, Sixers, and Nets in the finals together. Those two guys together. Is that high degree of difficulty to you?
No, but they got through the Spurs to do it.
Okay, they did. I got it.
They beat
I give you that. Hey, Shaq just ragdolled Tim Duncan and David Robinson. It was just it was a joke. It was no contest. I give you that. That's fair. But that's not high degree of difficulty. And then they lost, of course, to Larry Brown's Detroit team that was star-less, even though you had some near stars on the team. But that was a huge upset. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, yeah, but let me throw a little bit of nuggets out there. Number one, when you say the road to difficult, was difficult, it's all subjective. Let's see why. When Peyton Manning won his Super Bowl title, we all believed that the Super Bowl really was that AFC Championship game in Indy when he beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, coming back from like a 21-3 deficit or something like that. Okay? So what I'm saying to you is that if you look at the Lakers, even though the Dallas Mavericks with Mark Aguirre were a roadblock, and there were a couple other teams that were roadblocks, including Houston with Akeem Olajuwon, Ralph Sampson, and those boys, the reality is that the Los Angeles Lakers and the Boston Celtics, the tough part about it was the finals. But actually getting there to some degree, you know,
there's some truth to that.
There's some truth. So that wasn't. Then when you look, then when you think about it and you bring up that Pistons, you got to remember that season, Kobe Bryant, the Eagle County, Colorado fiasco.
And then Shaq and Kobe were at their worst.
And Kobe were at their worst.
They were.
And it wasn't until later that we learned all that it entailed.
I got it.
Okay, so
I got it.
It wasn't a team.
Okay.
It was a miracle that they got to the finals.
All right, that's fine. But then without Shaq, Kobe then loses to the, obviously, Paul Pierce, Garnett, Ray Allen Celtics, and did come back to beat them. Highly impressive. That's the most impressive thing Kobe's done in his career, to come back and avenge that loss in the finals. But the other one that he won, the other ring he won, was over Dwight Howard's Orlando. And that's the lowest degree of difficulty finals of all these finals.
Right. But going to the finals, you know, they beat Phoenix, they beat a few teams. So I'm just saying, once again, it depends. It's the road to it as well that counts. And getting back to that one that they lost to Detroit. Look, man, Shaquille O'Neal and I are talking prior to Game 4 at the Palace in Auburn Hills. And Shaq is talking to me, you know, what I got to do. I was like, you got to dominate. You can't have Ben Wallace or Rasheed Wallace sticking you one-on-one. Shaquille O'Neal had 17 points and 9 rebounds, if I remember correctly, within the first 15, 16 minutes of the game. And then after that, Kobe wouldn't give him the ball. Now, I mean, I'm just saying, look at it. I'm saying it clear. It was such hostility, and I blame both of them for that. It was such hostility. I don't even know if I could count that because they weren't interested in being a team.
All right, greatest Laker of all time.
By the way, Magic, I got your back.
Skip says Magic by a landslide. Steven says Magic slight
Slightly.
edge
So
over
1-1-8.
Kobe. All-time Laker leaders in points, Kobe, assists, Magic, and rebounds, Elgin Baylor. So now that we've heard Stephen A. and Skip's take on the greatest Laker debate, we want to know what you think. Go to Twitter, cast your vote for Magic, Kobe, Kareem, or the logo. We'll have the updated results later on in the show. We appreciate you getting involved. This I can't wait for. Floyd speaks out about the state of boxing. You don't want to miss what he had to say, and the fellas either.
So tell me what you frontin' for. Hey, tell me what you frontin' for. She belong